talk to us about your brand. You have one of the most iconic roofing brands, I think, currently in America that I've
I
seen.
love hearing that.
And so talk us through like where this idea come from. What was the original name of the business? Because I
So
think you did a rebrand,
originally,
right?
what's up?
You did do a rebrand, I think, at
Yeah,
one
yeah,
point.
a couple
Yeah.
years ago. So originally it was Pro Exteriors, like, kind of short for
Okay.
professional exteriors. And I had the typical, like the roof silhouette logo that everybody had. And then a couple of years after that, well, I mean, it was longer than that. It was just a few years ago before we rebranded to this name. I was like, well, I want to start doing some construction stuff too, and got advice from somebody that I considered kind of a mentor, which I don't think was good advice looking back. They're like, well, just do everything. Why do you have to focus on, roofing, build decks and, do this and do that? And so I was like, well, I'm gonna change the company name then to Pro Exteriors and Construction. And so that was the latest iteration. And then just kind of through talking with some people, mainly with Dimitri Lipinski, Roofing Insights. He's like, "Man, your name sucks." And I'm like, I know, but I don't want to change it. It's been like 10, 11 years under the same name. And so it took a lot of like poking and prodding from him to even get me to consider the idea. And then one day I was like, let's just go for it. And so I have always been into like Sasquatches and Bigfoots and Yetis, and I jokingly, kind of jokingly think they exist. I mean, nobody's proven that they haven't. So it's always a big joke with like my family and friends, and anytime they don't know what to get me for a gift, they'll get me Bigfoot stuff. Like I got all kinds of like sweatshirts and coffee mugs, and I mean everything you can think of, like pens and coasters, and like if it has like a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch on it, like it's cool. I like it. And so about, I don't know, probably 5, 6 years ago now, I bought a new truck, and it was a big white Dodge Ram diesel. And my daughter at the time, she was probably, well, it was 5 years ago. She was probably 5 years old. She nicknamed it the Yeti because she knew I was into that kind of stuff, and it was big and it was white, and so that's kind of what she called my truck. And so that was when the movie came out. I don't remember what it's called, but it had a big Yeti in it with like a blue face.
Oh yeah.
And so she got me like a little stuffed animal thing, probably like that big. It would go on your keychain. And so I hung it like on the little grab handle on my truck. And so I was just driving around one day and kind of thinking about, well, if I rebrand, like what am I going to do for a name? I don't want something boring, exteriors or whatever, XYZ. I mean, there's all kinds of boring names out there. And so I was like, I want something different. And so I just seen that little Yeti swinging from the grab handle as I'm driving around. I'm like, how about like Yeti exteriors or Yeti roofing, or, and so talked to my wife about it. And she's like, oh, that's cool. And showed my kids or kind of told them about it. And they're like, oh, that's awesome. And so talked to Dimitri about it, and he's like, yeah, let's do that. And so I came up with the name, and then they came up with the foot logo, which I think is cool that it has nothing to do with, your typical roof silhouette or anything like that. It's just it's neat and it's different. And I get all kinds of compliments now. I just talked to a lady yesterday on the phone, and she's like, oh, your name is so cool. And it just
Yeah.
kind of creates that extra opportunity to talk to a customer, because they'll ask the same thing, like, where'd you come up with that name? So, if they're talking to 5 different roofing companies, and it's, Yeti Roofing, and then it's Joe's Roofing, or, whatever city name roofing, which one are they going to remember? They're going to remember the unique one, and they're going to remember the one that I sat there for 2 minutes and told them about the story of how I came up with the names.